Good morning, all. I welcome you today to our worship service celebrating Pentecost. Pentecost is not often a holiday that you will see celebrated in many Unitarian Universalist churches. We happen to celebrate Pentecost because it is my favorite Christian holiday. If by favorite, I mean it is a moment that is deeply resonant spiritually for me in terms of how I imagine the world, how I imagine our role as justice seekers in the world, and that I think it is a powerful place of grounding for us who seek to make our world a more holy place. That work is the work of community. It is the work of us being together. It is the work of our whole bodies and our whole spirits and our souls. And Pentecost gives us a moment to experience all of those together. To say that our lives, our spiritual lives, are deeply embodied, that our ability to connect meaningfully to each other, to learn how to flow, to dance, to sing, to be embodied together is the core of our collective resistance. So I invite you into this space today, a space of collectivity, a space of flow. I ask you to do possibly uncomfortable things. We will experience worship together in music, in ritual, in song, in story. And if there is a space there where you feel a little uncomfortable, welcome, friends, to the work of the spiritual life. That place of resistance, that place of discomfort, take note of it. Sit with it. Use it. There will be a time of meditation at the end of our service, and that space of discomfort is exactly the space where we will go in our meditation time. So if you have that such experience, make sure to take note of it so we can return to it in our time of collective meditation. Now, before we get too deep into worship, there are some matters of announcements that we would like to share with you. So I will welcome up our wonderful worship associate, Steph Tacey, to begin our welcome and announcements.
There's a stool up here, and whereas I could actually use it, I'm going to move it to the side. So good morning. I am so happy to be the one who also gets to welcome you to Heritage Universalist Unitarian Church and to this morning's service. I have to tell you that while I was sitting here watching the video, I just kind of started listening to like the music and feeling the movement of the bodies and just feeling myself here among all of you. And I could feel the energy flowing within us and around us and linking us basically into a circle. We come together today to feel connected to each other and to something bigger than the sum of us all. Can you feel it too? Here at Heritage, our spiritual journeys may take us on different paths, yet we find community here with one another through mutual acceptance, support, and encouragement. Love is the spirit of this church, and in living that covenant, we honor the diversity of us all while joining together into one loving community. As I look out across the room at everyone here in the sanctuary and envision all of us who are joining on Zoom, I see many familiar faces. Some young, some older than young, and some, well, even older. All lovely and vibrant. Among us, there are longtime members as well as first-time visitors. And as a matter of fact, I see Simon Colebrook, and he's going to help me with the announcements as a co-worship associate. Come on up, Simon. So Simon and I would like to offer a special welcome to our first-time visitors, as well as those who are newer to Heritage. We hope everyone got a connections card as you entered the sanctuary. These cards are a great way for newcomers to let us know about you, for members and friends to update information, and for anyone to share what is on your heart. For those online, you'll find a link to our virtual connections card in the chat titled,
"We're glad you're here."
We offer this so we'll be able to keep you informed of things going on here at Heritage, help us get to know each other better, and keep us connected. I also recommend checking out the back of your order of service for upcoming events and some cool information. So now I think Simon has something very important to tell everyone. Take it away, Simon.
Next Sunday, May 31st, is our annual meeting, which is very important for our church. You might think it's just about the budget, but that's not the only part of it. We will also hear Reverend Bill and Laci's review of the last year, vote on leaders for next year, and celebrate some of our awesome volunteers. All are welcome to attend. Members are expected to do so in person or on Zoom at 8:45 a.m. Breakfast is served at 8:30. Childcare is available.
Thanks, Simon. Hey, Simon, did you happen to see this morning's greeter when you got here this morning?
Actually, yes, I did. It's Kelly V. Uno. She's waving right now.
There she is. Hi, Kelly. So Kelly will be glad to answer any questions and give a tour of the building to anyone who would like one. And everybody, please join us after the service for coffee, tea, and enjoyable conversation in the Great Hall.
One last item. Please take a moment to silence any mobile device you may have as we prepare for worship.
So let's pause here for a moment before we actually begin the service. Take a breath in and exhale. Settle in. Let yourself be held by this wonderful community of compassionate people as Shayla Wallace comes up to offer the call to worship.
Spirit of the living God, dance with us on this day. Sing to us, groaning of creation.
Come, still small voice of hope.
Inflame us with a passion for justice.
Come, liberator of the least.
Still grasping in our lives.
Come, advocate of selfless living.
Silence the hate in our world and in ourselves.
Come, harmony of our collective heart.
Wind of change.
Blow through us.
Fire of justice.
Burn within us.
Tongue of chaos.
Speak to us on this day. Amen.
Thank you, Shayla. All right. I would like to invite Sage, Mari, and Amos to come forward to light our chalice. And as they do that, let us rise and prepare to sing our opening hymn, number 389, Gathered Here. Now, all of the hymns we are going to sing today are going to provide us with an experience of the Spirit in our collective midst. So we will provide you a few instructions so that you know how to enter into that space together. Steve, would you like to offer us instructions now?
Sure.
Perfect.
All right, so we're going to sing Gathered Here, and it's going to be around. We're going to mix things up a little bit. Normally I have this as group 1 and this is group 2. Today we're switching. I'm confident that you can handle this. You will be group 1. You will be group 2. And Zoomers, you can be whatever group you want. Sherry's going to bring us in on an intro. We'll sing the song together one time, and then we'll do it as a round twice. And that'll be that. Okay, everybody together. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Group 1. Gathered here in the... Keep going. Group 2. Gathered. Again, group 1. Again. Nice. Thank you.
By this covenant we affirm that
love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow with harmony with the divine. Thus we do covenant with each other and with God.
Now you can be seated. All right. Yes. Well, if our kids will come forward to see Charlotte. Our time for all ages, we're going to do a little differently today. Our Holy Scriptures, in every faith and religion, are really a collection of stories. Stories that have some essential truth that continues to teach us through time. Any of our stories today could be the Scriptures of tomorrow. We happen to inherit stories from long ago. Question becomes, do they continue to teach us? And can we hear them and experience them in new ways? So our time for all ages today is actually going to be the telling of the story of Pentecost from the book of Acts, chapter 2, verses 1 through 21. Anytime we tell ancient stories, there is the possibility that the language will not completely resonate with our modern day experience. We have different translations, and there are times in which we might change the language somewhat to adapt to our current context. That does not mean that we, with 100% accuracy, will create a story that speaks exactly to our modern moment with ancient language. That is possible with today's story, which I acknowledge, and I encourage us to approach this ancient tale with a bit of suspicion, obviously, but also open-mindedness. Okay. Are we ready? Okay. When the day of Pentecost had come, they were all gathered together in one place. And suddenly from heaven there came a sound like the rushing of a violent wind. And it filled the entire house where they were sitting. Divided tongues as of fire appeared among them, and a tongue rested on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages, as the Spirit gave them ability. Now, there were devout Jews from every people under heaven living in Jerusalem. And at this sound, the crowd gathered and was bewildered, because each one heard them speaking in their own native language. Amazed and astonished, they asked, "Are not all of these speaking Galileans? And how is it that we hear, each of us, in our own native language, Parthians, Medes, Elamites, and residents of Mesopotamia, Judah and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt and parts of Libya belonging to Cyrene, and visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretans and Arabs in their own language. We hear them speaking about the powerful deeds of God." All were amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, "What does this mean?" But others sneered and said, "They are filled with new wine." But Peter, standing with the 11, raised his voice and addressed them, "Fellow Jews and all who live in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen to what I say. Indeed, they are not drunk as you suppose, for it is only 9 o'clock in the morning. No, this is what was spoken through the prophet Joel. In the last days it will be, God declares, that I will pour out my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy, and your young people will see visions, and your old people shall dream dreams. Even upon slaves, both men and women, in those days, I will pour out my Spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will send portents in heaven above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and smoky mist. And the sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of these great and glorious day. And then everyone who calls upon the name of God shall be saved." Here is an ancient story for our modern times. Thank you all. Our demonstrators of our early church experience. You all can go back to your seats as Ruby comes. Nope, Ruby, you come forward.
Good morning. I'm Ruby. I'm 9 years old, and I'm here to talk about sharing our abundance. As many of you know, our church's tradition is to give away 100% of the offering plate every Sunday to a nonprofit whose mission connects with our message of the day or a timely event. Today, our recipient is a Cincinnati nonprofit called Ignite Peace. Ignite Peace has been working in our community for 40 years. Their mission is to promote peace and nonviolence in 2 main areas: social justice and immigration. They have many wonderful programs. For example, they have programming for students. High schools and colleges can ask Ignite Peace to come to their school and deliver a workshop on criminal justice or immigration justice. They also do screenings of documentaries and then lead discussions about it for the students. They also organize protests, letter writing campaigns, and even offer a pen pal program for people in the community to write back and forth to people in jail. We're asking for your support today for Ignite Peace. If you're on Zoom, the link is in the chat, and if you're here in person, we appreciate your gifts.
Thank you for your generous gifts today.
Candles of Community is a very special tradition that we practice here every Sunday. As we enter this time together, we're invited to share milestones, heartaches, and celebrations. In this moment of joys and sorrows, we make space for what is real in our lives and for the fire that burns within us. We allow ourselves to be vulnerable by sharing who we truly are and the life events we're experiencing. We do so knowing that we as individuals are held with love by all who create and sustain this loving community. We offer ways for everyone to share. For everyone in the sanctuary, you will be invited to come forward, take the microphone, and share your name along with a brief joy or sorrow. For everyone on Zoom, you may type your joys and concerns into the chat, and they will be read aloud after those in the sanctuary have been shared. Joys and sorrows can also be submitted by email prior to the service, although we didn't have any sent for today. We also have our birthday jar, which is actually for anniversaries of any kind. Contributions go to support our Memorial Garden Fund, helping beauty grow inside and outside. And remember, if speaking aloud isn't what your heart needs today, you may always have a candle lit for you in silence. We now invite anyone with a joy or sorrow to come forward by way of the side aisles. And as you speak, Crosley Arujo will light a candle for you, a flame to carry your hope, your grief, your celebration.
There are no candles on Zoom, so we will light one last candle. Go ahead, one more. For all those joys and sorrows that go unspoken, but are in our midst. To say that we live in a holy world, by which I mean whole, HOLE/Y, might be the great understatement of our time. It is nearly impossible to look out in the world and not see places and spaces that give us pause, that bring us sorrow, that bring us challenge. I wish I could say that our moment in time is unique, that it is solitary, that we happen to be in a particularly trying time, and that all other times have just been so much better. We like to think that sometimes. We like to hope that that is true. We like to embrace a sort of nostalgia that says that there once was a good and glorious time. Now, there might have been less traumatic times. But when we really look at the great history of our world, of our nation, of the great history of the world, there are often times of tumult and crisis. So what does it mean to be people living spiritually in a moment of deep unrest? What does it mean to be a people who face a deep fear? How do we answer this question? Now, there are certainly strategies and ways in which we might think about the world in which we live, and those are worthwhile. It is also worth listening to history, listening to others who found themselves in a moment where they were full of fear. It is worth engaging in stories that say, how did people respond when they did not feel like they lived in a world that they recognized, that they appreciated, that they felt safe in? The history of the world is full of fear. So how do we make that fear better? How do we engage with ourselves and the world? I come back and back to the story of Pentecost for my own spiritual enrichment, to find my own grounding, to figure out how it is that I might understand myself in this moment. Now, the story of Pentecost is an interesting one. The folks who are gathered in the story are there because things are bad. They don't know what's going on. Their movement for justice, for transformation of the world, hit a major obstacle. They're in an environment, a imperial environment full of oppression, and they are a marginalized movement that brings people together across vast differences. The powers that be, the cultures that they live in, would tell them that that kind of movement across difference is inappropriate, is unwelcome, is illegal, is criminalized. But yet they persist in their faith, and they are gathered together to continue to give each other solace. Now, they have some hope that maybe their movement is not dead, but that's not been fully realized. And so they're gathered together, taking solace in each other. Maybe here is our first lesson. That even when we hit an obstacle, even when we find ourselves in a place of fear, even when we are told that who we are or how we are in the world is inappropriate or illegal or unwelcome, that still it is possible to find connection, to find grounding in those who share our values, to find grounding in folks who share our view of the world. Still, in uncertain times, those are still times to be together, not to scatter to the wind, but to find deep grounding in communities that can nourish us, that can sustain us, to find and invest in communities where we are going to be seen and that we are together going to meet the task of the day. Pentecost is sometimes called the birth of the church, but it is the work of the church was being done long before the day of Pentecost, because those gathered were still gathering. They were still being together. They were still finding solace and prayer with each other. They were still doing the work of being a people together despite their great differences. 3 whole verses in this story are about how different these people are. Different places and ways of thinking, different religions. We don't know these places. They are lost to our ancient text to us. But these are places, as far flung as the world was possible then. And they represented religious faiths as different as Judaism, early Christianity, pagan Romans in the pagan sphere. The people who were gathered here were not alike. They did not have a similar experience of the world. They did not share common religion, but they shared a belief that it was possible for them to work in the world to make the world a better place, that there was a promise for something greater than what they were already experiencing. And that commonality, that singular commonality, kept them together, kept them working through their differences, kept them connecting even when it was hard, kept them connecting across language and culture and religion. It was a hard thing that they were doing before this weird thing with the wind happened. But then the wind happened. Now, I am not going to make any claims about whether or not a great wind or tongues of fire descended upon any particular people in any particular moment in our history. But I do think the story tells us something about embracing the weird and the wonderful and the uncertain. Ben is really into this show called The Odd Squad. So it is very odd, honestly. But anytime Ben sees anything new or novel, Ben will be like, Ema, that's odd, isn't it? And I was like, odd indeed. The experience of Pentecost is an odd experience, right? It is supposed to it can at minimum symbolize to us an experience, an embodied, visceral experience where this gathered people came to experience something new, to experience something divine, to experience something earth-shattering, to experience something that shook them from their normal, everyday experience. It shook them in terms of the sounds and the experiences, and it shook them in terms of how they felt about the world. They were experiencing something particularly chaotic. Chaos is something that we in our day and time think of as negative. It is not an experience we want. We do not want to be laden by chaos. We do not want to experience chaos. We certainly don't want it in our everyday lives or in our commutes or in our schedules or in our calendars. Chaos is, generally speaking, not welcome here. But I have something to tell you. It might shock you, and you might not like it very much. But chaos is quite possibly one of the most powerful generative forces that there is in the world. Chaos can do something miraculous that we might never be able to do in the rest of our lives. It gets us outside of ourselves. It gets us outside of our own perspective. It requires that we do something completely different. And it most probably means we're not going to like it while it's happening. We are not going to like this experience of new, at least not at first. When we are in the tumult of a creative, generative chaos, something is emerging, and it is hard, and it is messy, and it is scary, and nothing about that is easy. But there is a promise that if we can embrace it, that if we can really grab a hold of it, if we can give ourselves up to it, that chaos can create something in us and in our world that we cannot create on our own. We can resist it, or we can embrace it. Julie brought me this stone today, which I am going to call a holy stone. Does everyone see it? I had not planned to talk about this because it's a brand new experience. But you know what? I was overcome by it. It actually made me think of the Grand Canyon. Okay? That there are huge formations of rock, this one is not huge, all over our world that might, on the outside, be impermeable, unchangeable, unable to be penetrated or changed. But guess what? This little rock tells me something else. This little rock tells me that the chaotic waters of the world can change something impenetrable into something that I can hold in my hand and put my finger through. This is the power of chaos in our world. To do something miraculous, magical, unexpected, if we just let ourselves go. Let ourselves give ourselves over to it. Change is like that. It will work on us, regardless of whether or not we want it to. So our choice is to either resist it and be acted upon, or to give in to it and then become co-creators of something new. This is what our world needs. All of us getting into the water, the tumultuous waters of change, to being jostled and thrown about, be thrown against our neighbor, to have an uncomfortable conversation, to encounter a person in a way that we were not expecting, and then to let that encounter change us, and to let that community that's created help to change our world. Pentecost is a story of hope for us today, because it says that no matter how insurmountable the challenge before us, in front of us, in our world, that we are already doing the work of change, that it is possible that our small movements, when slamming against each other, has the power to make a greater sound, a greater change, a greater moment. We must welcome the chaos, though, so that we can take our holy world and help it be more whole by the connections that we make. It doesn't change the fact that it's hard or imperfect, but it has the potential then to be more sustainable, to be more in line with our values, to be more of the world that we want. We can do that. A little drop, a little wind, a little fire put together makes for a rushing river, a great flame, a community of change. Now, in our moment of meditation, if anything I have said today, or that we have done today, has made you feel uncomfortable, take a hold of it. Put it in your mind's eye. Imagine it. Now take a deep breath. In Hebrew, in the story of Genesis, the word for breath, the breath of God, is ruach. It is not just breath, but it is the divine spark. It is the connection to God. That life in Judaism begins with breath, because that is the divine spark. So breathe in the divine, a spark of it. Share it with your neighbor when you release your breath. Breathe again. Now, in one hand, I want you to imagine your discomfort. And in the other, I would like for you to imagine chaos. Whatever that looks like for you. Is it a ball of fire? Is it getting ready for school on a Monday morning? Is it fire? Is it the swirling lights of the universe? Whatever that, imagine what chaos is. And as you breathe in and out, what stands between your two hands? That's the barrier. We all have our own barrier. We all have a thing that we have to make thinner, make smaller, minimize. Imagine what your barrier is. What keeps chaos from this thing, from this discomfort? As you breathe in and invite the divine spark in, imagine how you might thin that wall. Breathe in. And try to bring these two hands together. Try to bring your discomfort to the chaos of our world. It is a hard thing to do, to bring these forces together. So we'll have to breathe in. Breathe the Spirit in. Bring that divine spark into this tension. And as you breathe in and out, as these two hands collide, what does that look like? What does that enormous eruption look like? What will it take for you to unleash this potential? We're going to take 3 breaths. We're going to try to identify that thing that you need in your everyday life to allow chaos to work on your discomfort. A thing that you can do, an experience you want, a practice you might undertake. 3 breaths, so that you can grab a hold of something to take into the world. Grab a hold of that thing to take away. Maybe share it at coffee hour. Talk about it in the coming week. Take another breath. And as you're ready, come back together. We are going to end our time together with singing another round. Singing rounds, especially in our recent spirituality of collective action, adult RE class, we sing together as a practice of collective resistance. Singing is often associated with movements of collective resistance. This particular hymn that we will sing came out of the nuclear nonproliferation movement amongst Quakers. This is a Quaker hymn that we'll be sharing. But we have seen the power of music all over the place in our world. In the Seven Freedom Movement, in the singing revolution in Estonia, in the secret songs that were sung in concentration camps. Like, we have seen the power of music to sustain our collective action and resistance. Because the practice of singing is a practice of finding rhythm and flow with others. The practice of singing together helps us become a collective, capable of greater resistance, of greater sound, of greater harmony than even we could all do on our own. And so we're going to end our time together with an experience of singing, Building Bridges. Let us stand for that, even though I did not write that here. And let's hear from Steve for some instructions.
So, we're going to do the same thing we did with the first round. Group 1, Group 2, everybody together at first, and the groups will break up. We'll do it 3 times total. It'll be fun. Here we go. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Group 1. Building bridges between our divisions. Group 2. Again, Group 1. 2. Let's all sing the last line together. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Extinguish our chalice and start our benediction. Let us make a circle out together here. A great community together.